Did you go into the Vegas? Did you go into the Vegas chapel?
I gotta get my cat over fireworks now.
Oh, you'll be just fine.
And then the second one, I was able
Hi,
to
Micah.
put it on the agenda.
There's nothing to be afraid of being that far in the air. It's a sudden stop when they call.
You'll be passed out when you're on the way down.
Why do they put such long strings on tennis shoes? If you guys can hit refresh on your machines, since I made an update to the agenda this afternoon on the Bethel item. No, we'll do it.
Just do it in public comment.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this meeting. I'd like to begin by standing for a moment of silence, and we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, if we could have roll call, please.
Tom Eggers. Wayne Barahona.
Here.
Pete Hamill.
Here.
Ken Snyder.
Here.
Brad Hand.
Here.
Next item up is approval of our agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hamill.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
Barahona.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
And Tom Wright.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, we've now reached the public forum section of our meeting. Is there anyone here today that would like to address the council?
I have a comment from Marvin Reason that was received this morning. For the Bethel project, with that many units, there should be a sprinkler system. Also, Bethel, when they originally submitted this, they proposed to build all the units at once. Now they aren't going to. They are not being truthful. He wants the minimum assessment on all of the units by April 1, 2024.
Okay. Enter that into the record. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council at this time? Yes, yes. Okay,
The Bethel item needs to be under the public hearing.
okay.
Not now.
Oh, okay.
That, we can talk about fireworks and everything else now.
Okay.
But the Bethel item is separate under the...
Okay, so
Public
we'll
hearing.
call you up then at that time. If you want to speak to the Bethel issue, the Bethel item? Yeah, no, we'll discuss it we'll pull you up at the time we move that into that on our agenda. That's down a little ways. It won't be very long, I don't think, but. Any other comments other than the Bethel item that people want to address at this time? All right. Then let's move on to item 4, the consent agenda. Take a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Barahona.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Hamill.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
All right. Then there is no old business, so we'll move on to item 6A. First reading of the ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances pertaining to fireworks. Any comments you'd like to make?
I don't have a whole lot to say on this item, other than this is what was asked for at the previous meeting, with one exception. We didn't talk about the liability provisions, but I asked Tom Foose with ICAP to review that for us, and he recommended a change, and that's included in the ordinance. So I wanted to make sure you were aware of that. I would recommend that you approve first reading and continue this on for second reading to allow for more public comment.
Okay. So I would take a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Support.
Any further discussion?
I do have one question under the fireworks displayed, item number 2. It talks about the Iowa State Fairgrounds and by the Iowa State Board, Fair Board. Is that a typo or a copy and paste error?
I will find out.
Because why would the Iowa State Fair Board have to approve this?
See what the
It just says that no permit shall be required by them.
What section is that in? there?
Number 2. I'm just curious why that would be listed in there.
B, and then, 2, display fireworks.
What I'm trying to see if I see it in the old version. I like the old version too.
That's really a moot point here.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
I'm just asking.
That's a good question,
I
yes.
can- Just asking a simple question.
But
I
why,
think
why
it's-
would that be in here?
I will find out. It does refer to fair associations in second
Yeah.
degree in the old ordinance. So
Okay.
I think it's just a code upgrade,
Okay,
but I will find out for you that.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. But I think we still can move forward, and if we find a showstopper,
Oh, yeah,
we
that's
fix
fine.
it and bring it back. So.
Any other comments, questions? I will say, since this discussion has, the last time when this came up and we were asking Sam to draft a new ordinance, I have had 2 people that spoke in favor of less time, speaking to me. I don't know if any of you else have, but that's the only comments I've had for or
a
against.
couple at the football game last week.
So,
If I could say one more thing, Mayor.
yes, sir?
One more thing to add is that, to Brad's point, when he asked the question a little bit ago, this code came from Iowa Codification, Simmering and Corey, and it's the code that was going to be in our larger ordinance that we've been working on for some time. So it also includes other legislative upgrades over the last, updates over the last 20 years. Actually, probably over the last 4, because this section of the code was updated in 2017.
And there have been no other written comments sent in regarding fireworks, is that correct? Okay. All right, if there's no further discussion, I'd like to call for the question.
Hamel?
Aye.
Snyder?
Aye.
Kent?
Aye.
Farahona?
Aye.
Eggers?
Aye.
Okay. Item B is the proposed Bethel site redevelopment hearing. I'd like to open the hearing on that at this time. Now, you want to speak? No?
Let's ask the applicant first, Casey Sheldon, if he has anything.
Okay. Casey, are you listening in? Casey Shelton?
Hold on.
Oh,
Yes, I'm here.
okay, we can hear you now. Is there anything you'd like to address the council with at this time?
No comments right now. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Engineer, Brad, do you have anything?
Brad?
Good evening. I've got the preliminary plat here, and it sounds like everybody's got that on your iPad as well. First of all, we're excited to be in town, and we're excited about this project as well. I'm representing Cap Builders tonight, Casey Shelton, Adam Timmerman, and Phil Dorr, and it's a 14-lot subdivision. It's a 0-lot subdivision that's being proposed for the site. The 14 lots will each have 1 unit per lot. There's a 6-plex on the northern portion of the property and 2 4-plexes along the southern portion of the property, bounded on the south side by 7th Street, bounded on the west by 6th Avenue, and bounded on the east by 7th Avenue. A few things maybe I can address as part of the plat. As far as the infrastructure standpoint, sanitary sewer will connect to an existing sanitary sewer main on 7th Avenue on the eastern portion of the property. We have a water main on the eastern portion on 7th Avenue as well as on the southern portion of the property on 7th Street. So we'll have a looped water main system. Both systems are planned to be private. There will also be a street running generally east and west through the property. That will be a private street for the development, and private sidewalk system as well. As far as drainage, drainage will be connected to a private storm sewer system. We'll have intakes on the northwest and the northeast side, as well as 2 intakes on the eastern portion of the private road that will follow the existing drainage patterns, which generally flow to the southeast part of the property. At that point, we'll connect to the city storm sewer system. On the southern portion of the property, we're planning to construct angled parking stalls within the city right-of-way that would be available to anybody in the public to use, but would also be overflow parking for the development. Each unit will have a 2-stall garage for 2 parking units under roof, and then each of the driveways will be wide enough for 2 more, wide and deep enough for 2 more parking stalls, for a total of 4 parking stalls per unit. Private sidewalk system to enter the front side of the unit. The front side of the southern units are on 7th Street, and the front doors of the northern units are adjacent to the private property. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions from an infrastructure or layout standpoint, if you have any. Otherwise, I will let you continue with your public hearing.
You said the north properties, say the front doors of the north property would what?
Yeah, so essentially on the southern portion of the property is 7th Street, so those front doors will face 7th Street.
Mm-hmm.
On the northern portion of the property, that will actually be the front door of the units. So that center street the private street that the developer will construct, that will essentially serve the back side of the units, which is where the garages will be.
Okay. So it would be, you said facing the adjacent private property, so the front door would be to the north end of the northern units.
Correct.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Any other questions for Brad?
All right, I'll
Okay.
be around if anybody thinks of anything. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, now there are public comments. I just want to read a short statement here first. This public forum is the city council's opportunity to hear comments from you at the meeting for items both in this case, on the agenda. During this forum, the council will receive comments but will refrain from speaking. The mayor may ask the city manager to follow up. The number of speakers will not usually be limited at the forum, but the total length is desired not to exceed a half hour and may be lengthened at the discretion of the mayor and council. Anyone who wants to speak during this time should do the following. Raise your hand to be recognized by the mayor, and then come to the podium and state your name and address. And if you have any handouts, please hand them out at this time. Be concise and limit your comments to 4 minutes. You may not save your time for later or yield the remainder of your time to someone else. And after speaking, please be seated. Try not to duplicate any information that has been already presented. Direct comments to the entire council, not to an individual. Questions and issues raised during this time will generally not be answered at this time. Maintain a courteous and respectful manner. If you are the presenter on an item which has been formally placed on the agenda, no, scratch that, this is not part of that. Iowa law requires certain matters to have public hearings which have their own comment periods. That's where we are. Comments pertaining to a public hearing item should be saved for that item, and the 4-minute comment period will also apply. So is there anyone now wishing to speak? Okay, please step forward, state your name.
Craig Hartog, 618 7th Avenue, Sheldon. I'm adjacent to the property that is going to be built, apparently. One of my main problems, or I shouldn't say my problem, probably more the city's problem, would be the storm drains that are going to be adjacent to my property and Ricus, is it Ricus? Anybody know? Ricus. It was said that the water from all of the street, the private street and the driveways and the roof would be channeled either to a drain system or snow would be put into a holding area where the storm drains would be. My concern is that storm drains freeze over. It's common knowledge. I have a small 1-foot drain where my my water from my roof drains into. And in the wintertime when it gets cold, that drain freezes over. Now, you're planning on having a whole lot of snow go into those 2 sites. If those drains freeze over, that water has to go someplace, and my guess is it's going to go first over the sidewalk on 7th Avenue and possibly on 6th Avenue, or it's going to go into the adjacent properties. So that is still a concern that I don't think is going to be handled, and I've heard them say that if the snow gets too high, they may have to carry some out by trucks. But if those storm drains don't do the proper thing, we're going to have water on the sidewalks for sure, and I think that's a big problem. That's a area where school kids go all winter long. It may change where they pick up their kids. It used to be right in front of the Bethel Church. I don't know if that's going to change. The other thing that I have concerned about is it has been said that the value of these separate properties are going to be $275,000 to $300,000 each. How do we know that that is the true value of these properties? If they market them for $275,000 to $300,000 and they don't sell for that price, are they then going to go down, down, down until someone finally buys them, and then it changes the whole environment of that property to the point where now what do we really have? Do we have low-income property with how many cars? 4 cars in each driveway and garage? I don't know. So I think, what was that other? Oh, yes. And at this point, if in fact these do get built, and it was said that they would build the first row on 7th Street, and then if the momentum was there, they would build the other 6 on the north side. If that turns out to be the case, that they would at least seed
Okay, Craig,
the
we are
area.
at over 4 minutes, so if you could just
Okay.
wrap it up here.
That they would at least seed that area so that we don't have dirt and weeds growing in the north side while they're waiting for the upper properties to get built. The other quick thing is, I am hoping that if they build that barrier wall on the north side, and I guess that's for water containment, that they would put a maintenance-free 4-foot wall on top of that to keep the noise down. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Craig. All right. At this point, then, we'll move on to discussion and direction.
Need to close the hearing.
Oh, yes,
unless
motion to
there's
close
any
the
other-
hearing, first of all.
So moved. Support.
Roll call, please.
Farahona?
Aye.
Eggers?
Aye.
Snyder?
Aye.
Hint?
Aye.
Hamel?
Aye.
All right, now let's move on into the discussion and direction. Comments you have at all?
I'd just like to ask the engineer, Brad Beck, if you you have any response to the engineering concerns raised in the during public comment. We are not really to be discussing the values in this portion of the discussion. That what's in front of us is the subdivision. But as far as the other comments.
Sure. I think the main one that would pertain to me would be the discussion on the storm sewer system, as well as the snow runoff. Essentially, the intake that Mr. Den Hartog is referring to is on the northeastern portion of the property. That's a private intake. It's depressed below the sidewalk level between 3 and 4 feet approximately. It's approximately 5 to 6 feet lower than Mr. Den Hartog's property, so as far as anything affecting him adversely during a rainfall event, that's not possible. The comment was made, if those intakes are plugged with ice in the winter, etc., that would go across the sidewalks. The eastern sidewalks are a higher elevation than the storm sewer system. The northeast storm sewer intake flows south to the center street, and on that center street there's 2 intakes shown, each on each curb line. So if that northeastern intake did not work, it would not go over to the sidewalks. It would flow south to that street. Those intakes are lower than the level of the street in the adjacent sidewalk intentionally. So if the northeast intake doesn't work, it would overflow down to the 2 intakes on the private street. If, for instance, all 3 intakes did not work, which would be unlikely, particularly because that private street will be regularly plowed, because that would be the main access for those properties. If those 2 also didn't work and all 3 were plugged for some reason, which is highly unlikely, it would continue to flow east of those eastern units on the southern tier of those 2 fourplexes and down to the southeast corner of the property. So there could potentially, in a very unlikely instance, have water flowing over that sidewalk on the southeast portion until it hits the curb and hits the city storm sewer system. The comment on the topsoil on the northern portion of the property, that would ultimately be a decision Casey and his development team would need to make when that was seeded. But I do think that's a good practice. If their schedule doesn't allow them to start on those in an expeditious manner, I think it would be a good idea to stabilize that with grass, both for the developer and for the neighborhood. So Casey can hop in there if you would like. Does that answer everybody's questions?
Casey, were you able to follow all of that, what Brad was saying?
Yeah, we will see that. If we are not going to be going vertical with construction, we will definitely see that. Number one, we should see that for erosion control purposes. The last thing we want is a lot of sediment in our intake, so we will definitely seed that so that it's taken care of.
Okay. Any other comments from you at this time? Any other comments, Casey?
No, sir.
Okay, very good. All right, council, any questions or comments from you guys? All right, you're asking for direction. Do you want that in the form of a motion, or do you have that direction?
Yeah, I updated the agenda to say there's a resolution, so we can just have a motion to approve the resolution.
Okay, no, yep.
It's a resolution of adoption approving the final plat.
Okay, so if you've updated your notebook or your tablet today, that resolution is there. Take a minute if you need to quickly skim through that. Second to last paragraph basically is saying, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Sheldon, Iowa, that the preliminary plat of the Bethel Crossing Townhomes, a subdivision of part of Block 31, plat of First Edition to Sheldon, City of Sheldon, Bryan County, Iowa, is hereby approved. That's the gist of what we were doing.
I move that we accept the resolution as written.
And it would be preliminary and final.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Do we have a support for that motion from Tom? Second?
Second.
Yep. Okay. Further discussion? The motion is to approve the resolution as we have it. Understand? Roll call, please.
Farahona?
Aye.
Eggers?
Aye.
Hamel?
Aye.
Hint?
Aye.
Snyder?
Aye.
All right, then the second portion of this is to open the hearing regarding the Bethel site redevelopment, contract for development, and the minimum assessment agreement. No. The agreements are still a work in progress, it looks like. So at this time, the attorney has recommended that we not open the hearing, and we set that to a later date. Do you have a date in mind?
Hold off on the date. Still waiting for some feedback on what those timeframes look like, so
Okay,
just sit tight.
all right. So we will not open the hearing at this time. So is there any point in is there anything we need to discuss then? Okay. So, no motion required on any of that, then item C. We will then move on to the reports, beginning with Sam. Anything from you?
No, sir.
Todd, anything from you? Kurt? Oh, there you, yes, I thought I saw you walk in. Okay, Kristen, anything you want to? All right. How about you, Scott?
The only thing I want to see is, you guys saw that Sam has in there, Sergeant Woods retiring. Next week's his last week, 27 years, 30 years total. Him and Sergeant Dykstra retired this year. It's kind of hard to fill 63 years of experience. But, same thing we wish for Dave. We hope Todd enjoys his retirement. Appreciate his years of service.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. Ange?
No.
Micah, anything from you?
No, thank you.
All right, council to my left.
I just want to remind the citizens that we're still in a water watch. And if you drive north of town and look at the Floyd River, it's bone dry. And people have said they've never seen it bone dry. So water is a precious commodity. Use it wisely. We haven't had rain for months, significant rain, and it doesn't look promising in the next few weeks. So, still in a water watch. Please don't water your lawn in the middle of the afternoon. I've drove through town doing service work, and I see people watering lawn in the middle of the afternoon. Just conserve water before we don't have it.
Okay. Anyone else to my left? Council to my right.
Thank you.
All right, and I have nothing either, so I'll take a motion then to move into closed session.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Snyder?
Aye.
Eggers?
Aye.
Farahona?
Aye.
Hint?
Aye.
Hamel?
Aye.